Hello, my name is Eric Kaufmann, and let me tell you a bit about myself. I started my career as a geologist. I started working for a large engineering firm on large industrial project construction. Work started to slow and I was laid off. Then I briefly worked for a smaller geotechnical engineering firm. I worked on soil analysis for salt foam and tower construction. Work also started to slow and eventually I got laid off. So I decided to switch careers and went into IT. I started my IT career in higher education. I had several positions in my time in higher education. These included an analyst, a system administrator, and a system administrator. I frequently worked with data problems. These included everything from datasets would not load to how to use data analysis applications. My last role in higher education was a system administrator on a high-performance computing cluster that ran Linux and had over 100 nodes. One of the main uses of the cluster was to analyze large datasets. We did a lot of really other interesting things, including modeling military parachute design, modeling the drag coefficient of blue whales in water derived from drone footage, and how to maximize delivery routes for United Parcel Service. I then moved into banking. One of my main duties was to provide customized reports and clean data. MySQL was mainly used for this. Currently, I work as a law firm as an analyst. I have always worked with data in my various positions. I wanted to get more practical experience so I could eventually transition to a data science position. This led me to Savvy Coders, so I can build a practical set of skills. This program has given me practical experience I will need to make the transition to a data science career. I also have a plan to start a data science boot camp after Savvy Coders is over. Savvy Coders has given me a good foundation and will help me immensely with my data science career. Now let me present my project. My project is does increased healthcare spending lead to better patient outcomes? The United States has the highest healthcare spending in the world. In 2021, the country spent $4.3 trillion on healthcare, or about $12,900 per person. This is significantly higher than the average healthcare spending in other developed countries. In addition to these factors, the U.S. healthcare system is also complex and inefficient. This can lead to higher costs as healthcare providers and payers must navigate a complex system of rules and regulations. Additionally, the lack of price transparency in the U.S. healthcare system can also lead to higher cost, as patients often have no idea how much a particular service will cost before they receive it. In my forthcoming project, I'm venturing into the sphere of healthcare economics, with a specific objective to identify if increased healthcare spending correlates with enhanced patient outcomes in developed countries. I will be focusing on two crucial benchmarks. Healthcare spending is a percentage of GDP and healthcare expenditure per capita. The study will be confined to developed nations that earmark the highest portion of their GDP for healthcare. By doing so, I will ensure that all comparative assessments and derived outcomes are from countries with similar economic circumstances and sophisticated healthcare systems. For evaluating patient outcomes, I will analyze both male and female mortality rates alongside with total life expectancy. These metrics will yield a comprehensive perspective on the impacts of healthcare spending and on healthcare outcomes across genders and the overall lifespan of the population. I will be leveraging the capabilities of Python for data manipulation and analysis, Excel for preliminary data processing and organization, and Tableau for data visualization and reporting to effectively communicate my findings. At Savvy Coders, we used Agile Scrum. I previously worked in an Agile Scrum environment, and it was by far my favorite. As an application support engineer, I wasn't part of the development team, but I worked very closely with them to ensure that applications were deployed smoothly and efficiently. At Savvy Coders, Agile Scrum was quite beneficial. I acted as a product owner for my team for the first half of the cohort. My duties included defining vision, managing backlog, and gathering feedback from stakeholders. We participated in the following Scrum ceremonies: sprint planning, daily stand-ups, and sprint review. Daily stand-ups were especially beneficial as we discussed what we had worked on the previous day and if we had any blockers. The project help I received from my team was very beneficial. Now these are the datasets I used. Both the datasets were from Kaggle. And the first dataset was the global spending over time. This dataset provides an overview of global healthcare spending by country from 1980 to 2018. And the Kaggle Health and Nutrition Population Statistics. This dataset includes 345 indicators, such as malnutrition prevalence, and vitamin A supplementation rates across 263 countries around the world. Data was collected on a yearly basis from 1960 to 2016. Now, basically, I'll move on how I did the project. I started by data wrangling and data cleaning. The tools I used for this were Excel and Pandas. For data cleaning, I used Excel to check and remove null values, and I also removed special characters. For data wrangling, I used Excel. I sorted the data by country, removed the measures I was not looking at, and filtered by particular years. I used Python Pandas to remove columns from year files, filter values from highest to lowest, and found the countries with the highest spending as percent of GDP, and then I combined files. Now, quickly, I will review some of the code I did. Basically, I split one of my files into years. So I basically took the 5 files, and I did this for all the files, and I basically read the CSV into the data frame. I removed a frequency column I didn't need. I removed an index column, and then basically I sorted them in descending order. Then I saved the data frame to a CSV file. I did this for all 5-year files. And then I combined all those files into one file. Took the first 10 rows of each, and then took the first 10 rows of each file to find the countries that had the largest spending of GDP. I did this by importing the files, creating an empty list to hold the files. Then I looped over the files. I read the first 10 lines of the CSV and basically appended this to the data frame list. Basically, I then combined the data frames, and then I merged them into a CSV. To show you quickly something I did with my second data set, I used Pandas to basically drop a frequency column I didn't need, and then basically saved it to CSV. Now to quickly go over the country locations. As you can see, all the countries, as I mentioned before, are basically developed countries. Now to go into my measures. The first measure is healthcare spending by GDP. Healthcare spending as percentage of GDP by country. This tells us the following: healthcare spending as percentage of GDP is the proportion of a country's economic output that is dedicated to healthcare. It shows how much importance a country places on the health of its citizens and the resources it invests in its healthcare system. As you can see, the US basically had the highest spending by almost 4% of any country. Basically, and then this is basically just broken down by country. And again, as you can see, the US has the highest spending. Then if we look at healthcare expenditure per capita, this tells us that how much money on average is spent on healthcare for each person in a given population. It provides an indication of the resources that are dedicated to healthcare per individuals. As we notice, Switzerland is somewhat higher, but the US isn't far behind. Now we move on to male and female life expectancy. Male and female life expectancy at birth is an important indicator of the overall health and well-being of the population. As we can see, for both male and females, the US is last by about 2 years. Finally, to go to total life expectancy, we can see that the US basically is the lowest of any of the countries. So the takeaway from this project: from 2010 to 2014, the United States had the highest healthcare spending as a percentage of GDP among the countries I compared. However, despite the significant investment in healthcare, the US did not fare any better in terms of life expectancy compared to the other countries. In fact, the life expectancy of the US was the lowest of all the years studied. Pain and frustrations for this project. Measuring healthcare outcomes by comparing different countries is a difficult task. Many countries have vastly different systems. Factors that affect one country might be different for other countries. I would have also liked to use newer data. The data sets I chose had lots of incomplete data after 2015. I would also like to have looked at other factors that would maybe have been a better gauge of healthcare outcomes. These include infant mortality rates, quality adjusted life years, and disease specific mortality rates. Life expectancy, though, from birth does provide a general overview of the overall population health. I also think I maybe could have done a better time on time management. Conclusion. So I would like to thank the staff of Savvy Coders, especially the teaching assistants. I would also like to thank my group, and I would like to thank Stephanie Grimshaw. Thank you for viewing my presentation.